Hello, everyone. This is Chad Hill, and I also have Adam Stetzer here on the phone.
Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday.
We're here today to talk about social media. So we're excited to go through some of the plans that we've rolled out last year, but haven't officially reviewed with everyone in a webinar. So first of all, I wanted to start with sort of an obvious question, but why social media? And of the millions of infographics out on the web, I chose this one because I think the most important thing is that because a lot of people are spending time in social media and it's becoming a bigger and bigger part of everyone's lives. And of course, you know, that's happened both on the personal side for a lot of people with Facebook, but also obviously is a bigger and bigger part of our professional lives in the way that we seek information and that we interact with each other. So not a lot on that, but essentially everyone's in this. It's not going anywhere. And so as a company and as representatives of our clients, we need to figure out what's the smart and right investment that our clients should be making in social media.
It's a cool picture, though. Who's that guy up in the attic? Is that those HubShout employees tweeting and Facebooking because they're social media geeks, or what's that?
Exactly. Well, in this particular case, I think this is trying to say that essentially there's about 9 hours of total daily intake of people consuming different types of online media, and of that 3.5 hours is our various types of entertainment, podcasts, online video, and TV, and then as you move up, 2.5 hours of news. And then basically people are spending 1.25 hours on social networking, which is Facebook, MySpace, Ning in this case, although I don't think many people are using MySpace or Ning anymore. And then 0.75 hours microblogging on Twitter. And then, you know, at the top of the pyramid is your gaming time, 1 hour of gaming. So, you know, we're really looking at this saying that of our audience is probably spending somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 hours between their Facebook and microblogging activity. And then when you look down in the news area, a lot of people are using social media to discover news. So if you are a company who's putting out interesting information, you know, your content may be picked up in that cycle or those hours of the day as well. So, you know, obviously a lot of time going into this, less and less going into, you know, sort of the traditional mass media outlets. And that's why we got to figure out how to help our clients be here. So the next question is, you know, sort of why HubShout and what is HubShout doing in social media? We started in 2008, focused on SEO and pay-per-click, and really around those two offerings, we built our current private label dashboard that all of you use and that we use on a daily basis. But what we realized last year is that, you know, the value of the data we were collecting in our dashboard and of the engagements we were having with our direct clients and then through our reseller partners and their clients was being able to bring together more than just SEO and pay-per-click. And so, of course, there's Google Analytics information in our marketing software, but we wanted to expand into some of the other things that people can do to build and run optimized or efficient online marketing campaigns. So the two obvious things that we added in last year were a full email marketing service, as well as services that go on top of that to help you run and manage and build email marketing campaigns, as well as some social media mention services that track where people are talking about you on the social web, as well as services there to help for those people who aren't seeing enough discussion of them, that we can help you, get out in the various social networks and start to establish a presence because you need to. And back to the prior slide, you know, I think the big question since we started in SEO and pay-per-click is when or is social media a factor in rankings and presence and search engines? And, you know, we keep pretty on top of that topic, and there's, of course, tons of chatter across the various online marketing blogs and publications. We still don't think that it's a important factor, but Google, we believe, is determined to figure out how to make it fit in. Obviously there's a huge amount of growth and investment they've made with Google Plus, and we've all seen that there are social factors showing up in the search engine results pages such that, or in a way that you're seeing people that you know sort of endorsing search engine rankings. And so clearly there's a need to get there, even if that may not impact that you're position 1 or 4 on the page, or help you go from 4 to 1. Having that endorsement of people you know in your circle on the search results page is likely to improve your click-through rate, or at least how much time people consider you by looking at that ranking. But all in all, I think one of the things that where we're pushing, so we have these different pieces that we've put together, but where we're pushing as a company is to really tighten up all these services together and get a better sense of where the two interact, so that email can help improve the ROI on SEO by engaging, by nurturing leads that are coming in off of your SEO program. Social can help improve your click-through rate on your existing organic rankings, because if you have people in your network that are liking or adding you to circles or whatever the engagement factor is, that those things can start to show up when you are logged in and searching on a certain term. So those are the reasons that we think that that all this stuff is ever more coming together. And so we're doubling down on integrating all these plans together, helping explain and train and really provide as much insight and information back to our reseller community and their clients, so they do understand how all these pieces work together and then can work in our software more efficiently.
I think on that point, Jeff, we always say we're never advocating running to the shiny new thing either. So as we move on to these new value-added pieces, we're always advocating stay with the old too, because there's a multiplicative effect there, and anyone who wants to be an expert in digital marketing needs to be well versed in all of these, rather than zigging and zagging to the shiny new thing, which we hear quite a bit. We say yes, move on to it in a measured approach, but keep the old stuff running, because the sum of the parts really does add up if you keep those old programs watered while you go into the new. Right,
and I think we talked about this again today, Adam. In the sense that being diversified in your marketing is critical, and that's ever more. Even in the last few weeks with the news of algorithm changes at Google, everyone gets kind of frenzied about it. And if you have a diversified program, yes, there may be a part of your program that you have to see like what's going to happen now that Google's made this change. But if that's 100% of your program, it certainly is a bigger panic factor than if it's a part of a diversified program. So diversification is good, just like your financial advisor would tell you. It's the same in marketing. You want to be diversified.
Yeah, excellent point.
In terms of setting up our social media plans, we wanted to give people stepping stones from sort of a very basic entry-level program up to a more interactive and full-service program. So we named our 3 categories of programs: the post, interact, and community. Really, with what we're doing with posting is, for the most part, we're just finding either information you provide to us or that we find by searching on relevant publications, interesting information about your client or your business category, and then sharing that on the various social media profiles. So it's very much a one-way type of program. We find information, we share it. So really what this is going to do from a social media, sort of building your presence in social media, is that when someone goes to your Facebook page or your Twitter feed, you're not going to be one of those businesses that hasn't updated it in 6 months. You will have 12 posts each month on your profile, and it will look lived in, right? So it's like someone's at home, someone's actually curating and sending information out on these social media profiles. And so that's really the objective there. And of course, we're able to offer that at a lower price than the 2 plans I'm about to talk about now. Interact adds to that, so we continue to do our posting of the content, but we're looking to do some light, retweets and ats and hashtags to try to basically build up the number of people that might join or follow you or like you, depending again on which platform you're on, but to try to build up some of that. For the most part, we're essentially taking the post content and then trying to find some people to include in those posts or in that content that we post out, so that you get a small sort of factor of people starting to follow you and engage in your content. We'll also monitor and reply to anyone who tweets back to you or posts on the Facebook page where possible. The final one is really the most engaging, and what we're doing there is we're taking everything we do in post and interact, we're much more active in managing the metrics around how many people are like your page on Facebook or follow you on Twitter. And actually, if anyone is familiar with, those of you familiar with our paid search programs, this really goes from sort of being a click-oriented goal where we're just focused on getting you the most clicks possible to sort of really an ROI thing, which is we're going to focus on metrics like how many how many followers, how many likes do you have on your page, and really manage and own those trends so that we're seeing them go in the direction that the business wants to be. So that's really how we've broken up these three, and we're now going to take a look at some of the details of what's in each program.
As you do that, we do have a question that came in from the board, and if others have questions, please type them into your chat window. The question is the account monitored by one social media manager per client, or is it split up with many social media managers at HubShout? I ask only thinking of the interaction taking place by the social media manager, questions and messages, and the tones of the responses, so that it appears to be coming from one common voice.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do cover that in a minute, but just very quickly since it's been asked. It is one manager, so we treat this a lot like our pay-per-click programs where there's basically an analyst assigned. We have a social media analyst assigned to the campaign, so they're the ones who are really responsible day-to-day for collecting and posting the information, and so there is, again, a person who is aware of the history on the account when they're deciding what to post and what's going out. And we'll come back to that just in a minute just to clarify the roles and responsibilities. But let's take a look at some of the plan details. So this should be in all of your pricing guides. If you don't have that, again, you can ask your account manager and they'll send you the most up-to-date pricing guide. I did focus mostly on just trying to break out the steps that are different from plan to plan. So there are a couple things like reporting is included in all plans, and there will be a kickoff call for all plans. So there's a few things that are sort of common across all three. But you can see here that in terms of posting content, the main difference, we're sharing 12 pieces of relevant, timely industry news, blogs, articles, fun facts, quotes, videos, and pictures for all three of the accounts. Our analyst is going out and really, again, using some of that information collected in the upfront phone call, is looking for relevant information. There also is a task that's automatically built each month, or built by the social media analyst, or in some cases automatically built, that will automatically send out to the account owner for the account that will say, please provide any interesting or relevant information that you would like to share this month. So it's your choice to whether you go into that task and provide information to the analyst, or whether you just let them go pull the information from the web. I mean, obviously, the more interaction we can have and say, yes, client is running a 20% off special on all products this month, that's a great piece of information for our analysts to have. Otherwise, they're going to be out looking for relevant information, but of course, they're not in the business each day, so they don't know the specifics of what might be happening. So we do send that out. Otherwise, the analyst is pulling back and putting together the post information that goes out. The only other thing to add here is that when you get up to the community level, again, there's a bit more of a focus on developing the editorial calendar. So there is time on a quarterly basis to kind of lay out what kinds of contests or promotions or other things that do we want to be doing as a team to really accomplish the objectives and goals of growing the following and really interacting with people more than, again, in the first plans, which are primarily keeping fresh content flowing. And while we're talking about content, one of the things...
For Chad.
Sure.
Are your services only for the U.S. market, or do you serve resellers globally?
That's a great question. We mostly have been focused on the U.S. up till now. I believe that the three primary products that we're focused, or networks that we're working with, are Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So I believe all three of those are international. So as long as it was the English language, I think we would probably be fine with that. The only issue would just be writing style. So our staff would be U.S. based. So I think you just would want to make sure that we understand localization, and that could be an issue, but we certainly would be willing to work with you on it.
The other one that came in here is the kickoff call that you have a kickoff call with the reseller or with the end client?
Right. I mean, that really is that's a good one. It's primarily supposed to be with the reseller, but if needed, we can be, on your team to be on the phone call. But ideally, you have the relationship, and it'd be best if it was something that, you were in on as well and helped manage.
Yeah, I think the issue there, Chad, is sort of managing expectations, and it reminds me of the early days of SEO when people really didn't understand the market that well, and it hadn't matured, and things have changed quite a bit in the last couple of years. We're finding people are much more receptive to being educated. I think a lot of people come to social media with very exaggerated expectations. And how does that relate to the kickoff call? It means that they want to stay on that call for 3 hours, which we haven't budgeted to do. We're trying to keep our price points low so you can afford them, you can mark them up, you can make money. So we have to manage to the middle there. So we want interaction. We want to talk to those clients so we know that our editorial calendar is right, the content's good, the tone and the voice is what they want. But we also need to let them know, it is what it is. It's not going to be a silver bullet for their marketing. So that we look to the reseller to help us in that situation, find a good balance, because if we can, we'll retain that customer for a long time.
Good point. So if you get down to the next section here under interaction, this is where the post and interact and community plans start to diverge. And really, as you can see in this section, really we've given you some ideas of things that we would be doing that are different. So we're taking a little bit more ownership. We're taking more ownership on responding to questions and messages, and looking for places that we can go comment and or like other relevant groups and pages to, again, try to be a little more interactive with what's going on. We're looking for @mentions of relevant, high-profile, or well-connected community members, trying to build that person, have that person follow you or reply back to whatever tweet you sent out. Of course, any sort of thanks for retweets, and then also retweeting other relevant content from the Twitter stream. There also would be more engagement around putting out questions and polls and other things to start some conversations. And again, really just messages to the community members as appropriate. And then when you're on our highest tier service, the community building, as I mentioned before, really at this point, we're taking a much higher responsibility, or taking on the responsibility for making sure that the activities we're doing to interact are actually leading to people following and the size of your following on Twitter, or the number of likes on your Facebook page are growing. So that's really where you move into the community section. But along with that, we're looking for, again, ways to work with your Facebook page, and this is from our current pricing doc, and some of the changes that are going on right now with the Facebook timeline may make this not really as relevant, but we certainly in the past had worked on creating offers or reasons, special tabs for people to like your Facebook page, to reveal certain types of either special content or coupons. So that was something that we have done. With the new timeline page, it's maybe not quite as relevant. And then the other thing we again do is there's more of the outreach to prominent or well-connected industry users and industry leaders. So again, that's the flow: post, interact, and community. And I will say one more thing, since I mentioned Facebook. It used to be, and used to be meaning like last month, that you could sort of set up your Facebook page a lot like a pay-per-click landing page, where you could have a dedicated home tab with a nice brand graphic and almost an upsell focused on liking the page to unlock certain added value items. So you could be a little passive in the way you manage that. You could just sort of put that out there. People would find you, it looked nice, and they could sort of engage and become a part of the people who like your page. With the change to timeline, Facebook is really pushing everyone to have a more to engage more and have to be publishing more content on a more frequent basis. And so if you're used to just sort of set up a Facebook tab or special page on Facebook, that's no longer going to cut it, because you're going to end up with the stale effect of someone hitting your Facebook page and seeing that it's a relatively static thing if you're not actively posting content. So really, these plans we've put together are probably even more relevant than they were a month ago, given the way that Facebook has taken things. Okay, so let's talk a minute about who is social best for, who the social plans are best for. And that's generally, this is a simple question in some ways, because everyone should be doing it, but every business is a little different. So it's going to work best when you're a local business or a beloved national brand. I think most of us in the community aren't working with a lot of big brands like Coke or Pepsi or various other, Apple or whoever it might be. So we tend to be working either with local businesses or regional businesses. And when you talk about a local business, the guys that I think have it easier are the ones who have a retail presence or restaurants, where there again is a great platform for getting out specials and upcoming events, and plugging into the calendar, the promotional calendar that they already have kind of built as part of their just standard retail marketing program. So those guys are easy to work with. The ones that are a little bit harder and that we all have to just sort of get our heads around and think about are the service businesses and maybe the regional supplier manufacturing type companies, where again, you make a certain kind of bolt and nut. It's not that exciting, and there aren't 5% off specials that are going to make people run out and want to buy more bolts and nuts. But what I think you can do is, if you really approach this in the right way, you can think about what are some of the questions that people often ask us, and what kind of content can we be sharing that actually puts our industry or what we do kind of in a new light. And I've seen this with a lot of our clients, where we have a client that we're going to look at in a second that manufactures steel buildings. And it's one of those things where you kind of would look at it and say, well, steel buildings really aren't that interesting. What kind of cool, interesting information can we be putting out about it? But as you start to dig into it, and as our social media analyst has found, there's all kinds of great little information about steel and how much steel goes into making, how it went into making America, where steel comes from, the shift in the materials, and how there's different parts of the industry, or there's micro steel industries in different parts of the country. So there's actually a lot of pretty interesting information about steel, and then even in the kind of the more relevant recent years, how steel is actually growing in jobs, and there's a lot of things that people actually find interesting. So that's what we have to do, is kind of figure out what is your business, and then how can we make that more interesting, and what relevant stuff is surrounding that we can use to promote and put interesting content out. So that's really the point here. It's right for anybody, but it may not be as easy for everybody. It may not be as easy for one business as it is for another. Talk a minute about the team. So in terms of the team that's on your program, there's really two people that you're going to be working with. There's the account manager, who, as you all know today, is really responsible for your day-to-day communications with the reseller or client. The account manager is going to help you complete your initial onboarding social plan questionnaire. So there's a set of upfront questions that we need to collect before we even have our kickoff meeting. And they're really going to be your first line of communication for the account overall. So if you have a question about your social plan, your SEO plan, any part of it, they're going to continue to be your first line person that you're going to give a call to or build a support ticket. The social media analyst is going to be dedicated to the campaign. So we actually will assign a social media analyst, and for those of you who are in the system, you go to the admin tab, and under the admin tab, under advanced, you can see that there are dedicated resources assigned if you have pay-per-click or if you have social. So those are right there on the screen. That person's going to be responsible for taking the questionnaire and then going off and implementing and managing all the day-to-day tasks that are being assigned to them. The other thing that's going to happen is that we now have really been pushing on getting all of you in to raise support tasks as issues come up. And if you go into the system and you raise a support task for a campaign that has a social media plan on it, you'll see in the on the page that there's a button to say, this is a social media issue. You can type in your question. That's going to get routed directly to the social media analyst. So those are the two people that would be interacting, day in and day out in a social media account. The other thing that's really cool about what we've built is that we've taken everything that we have done in the area of building a workflow to make sure that we get all the work done when we say it's going to get done, and we've applied that to social media. So everything, all the tasks that are being generated around the 12 posts a month or the various other tasks that come out of our various social media plans are all being generated and tracked in the dashboard. The other thing that's really neat is that we've built, as I mentioned before, the customer communication service module where not only can you raise customer support tasks, but you have the ability to go to your home tab and see all the tasks and issues that you've raised, as well as any tasks that are waiting for your review. So you can see here on the screen, I put a collage of a couple screens that are relevant, but the upper left-hand corner is our screen on the home tab that shows where the tasks that need to be reviewed. The one in the middle is just giving you a sense of the typical workflow of a social media plan. You can get into the task screen. And then the one on the right here is actually an example of a link that I would click from the home tab or from an email that was generated saying that there's a task that needs your review. You can actually go to the system, review whatever information, if there's content or if there's just a question in the task. You can update that and then review and send that back to whoever was asking the question. So this is all built into the workflow so that we're able to stay organized as we run these programs on your behalf.
I think these also serve as great sales tools too, Chad, because similar to SEO or PPC analysts, I know one of the challenges in the sales process is, well, what am I really paying you for? You say you're doing all this work, I can't really understand it or see it, and we've worked pretty hard, as is our practice, throughout our software and our workflow discipline to make it very visible to you and your client so that you can point to it and say, look, this is all the activity you're getting. I think particularly with social media, they can be very confusing to people who haven't been in it. This can help, just like we say about our other processes, help demystify and show you're paying for labor, and here's what that labor is giving you, and here are the points we want your feedback and your involvement, which makes us very efficient, makes us able to scale, all the things that should be professional selling points as you take this to market.
Great point. Okay, so then in terms of software, all of you are familiar or should have seen at some point our social media, our social monitoring tab, which I will demonstrate in just one second, which is where you can see a collection of any of the tweets or various other places that we collect data from, what's going on from a social media standpoint. So, one of the things that we would expect and want you to be able to show your client is that, hey, over time, I started running this program, and over time, you're seeing your number of social mentions go up. And that's, of course, a very important metric. There's other metrics like number of followers, number of people who have liked your page, and then ultimately there are number of leads, number of people that came from Facebook who wanted to talk to you. So those are all things that are important as well. But we do really understand that what we have today with social media mentions is a good first start. It's very useful information, but we want to add more data to that tab and actually pull in some other data sources so that we can continue to build out the metrics on the social media side. As an example, Google's recently made some changes in Google Analytics where they're actually starting to automatically categorize traffic referrals from social media. So we want to make sure we're adding in that same type of analysis so that, on the home tab or on the social tab, when we look at the overall chunk of traffic, rather than calling referrals from Facebook or Twitter just referring sites, we want to start pulling those out and saying, no, these are actually social media referral sites, and we want to track those a little differently than we would any other site that might have a link to you on that someone clicks on.
A couple questions for you, Chad. One is, have any way to separate out and measure links that come specifically as a result of social media marketing?
I think that's a tough one. We currently are tracking your overall link count and root-to-root links. So today we are not trying to put a source of acquisition on those links. Adam, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but we're not doing that today.
Yeah, I mean, I've had this argument, friendly argument with several of our resellers about, can social media be used as a link building strategy? And you can see some of this in my blog. You want to take a look or jump into our forum and make a comment. But from a very purist, technical, scientific standpoint, which tends to be me, more stick in the mud type view of the world, I say you're not really building links with social media because, as Chad just said, all that might be coming from one root domain like twitter.com or facebook.com. But the counter argument is you're using social media to reach a real audience, create a little buzz, to know about something you're talking about, blogging about, infographicing, whatever it is, and then that gets it in front of them, and they say, well, that's cool, and it turns into link bait, and they do link to it. So, and I understand that argument. It's an interesting argument. So it depends on kind of how technical you want to be. Is technically, are you getting links from social media? Maybe no, but that activity is directly leading to a link for you. So, I think there's a couple ways to skin that cat. I think, as Chad started off the webinar, we think it's just a great addition to your link building approach and something anyone in digital marketing certainly needs to be paying attention to. Here's another question for you, Chad. Jumped in late, sorry. Are these plans that you're talking about related to social media, are they included with your SEO pricing, or are these separate?
They are separate plans, but they are in the same document. So they're part of our services document, which I believe was updated at the end of November. So that's where these plans are that you can get. And so you can just request them from your account manager, and they should be able to share them with you.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, and I think one other point on to Adam's point, I think those indirect links where you get in front of an audience, which then at some point earns you a link. Those are really tough, obviously, to attribute. And we have one client who is really dead set on trying to attribute and actually assigns special link codes to every employee, and it's one of their goals to try to find places for links. But we have an ongoing debate on whether or not that is actually just hurting more than it's helping, because they're funneling things through a URL shortener, and there's questions about whether that makes sense or not. And so there's just a lot of issues when you try to sort of overanalyze things that are happening naturally. So I would caution, I don't think the question was, how can I attribute every link back to social media? But I think sometimes it gets a little tricky, and you end up spending more time tracking that than you do just focusing on getting the next 5 links.
Yeah, good point. A couple more questions for you, Chad, that are trickling in here. We are hearing a lot about Facebook and Twitter. How do you attack Google Plus, or for B2B businesses, LinkedIn?
Great question. So LinkedIn is actually part of our program. If you want us to post out to it, we can do that. We have had some people that have viewed LinkedIn as more of their personal business network, and so they want to be a little bit more sensitive to what's going out on LinkedIn, and they want to have it be something they're posting rather than sharing relevant information that we'd be putting out on the Facebook or Twitter feed. So that's LinkedIn, but we can do it, and I don't honestly no reason not to do it. So we would be willing to do that. Google Plus, same thing. I think currently we it's actually not on the sheet. I think we need to add that, but I don't know, Adam, if there'd be too big of an add-on just to also push the content out to Google Plus or not. But we can certainly go back and look at that and get that updated here.
Cool. And the last question I've got in my queue from the chat window here is, I also joined late, excuse me, but do you have any sample proposals that address the social media plans that you're talking about that we can use in the sales process?
Yeah, great question. So we do have a one-pager on social media, and we do have a social media proposal. Both of those you can request from your account manager, and they will be able to shoot those over to you. So those are both available if you just ask your account manager.
Great, thanks.
Okay, so I want to just really quickly, just for those people who aren't familiar with the dashboard, wanted to show a couple things here. So I wanted to first of all just go over to the task screen. So this is what I was saying before, that you actually have the ability to view all of the social media tasks that have been completed for an account. So in your filters over here to the right, I'm just looking at all my not started, in progress, and completed social media tasks, and you can see here that we've had 13 for this month. This is a post-only service, so all that information would be here. If there was ever a question from a customer or client, they could easily plug that in. The other thing I mentioned was the support option. So if you click on support, you'll notice here that it remembers, basically the campaign here, Powerbuilt Steel. You can plug in who's requesting this particular task, so it can be you or it can be an end customer. In some case, for us at least, this we use when you call in, we plug in your name. And then over here on the left, you see that basically it has a list of the different plans that this particular campaign or account is on. So you would then select the social media post service plan, type in a title and description, and that's going to get routed directly to Renee, who's the analyst on this particular campaign. So that's, again, a way to very quickly get information into our analysts so that they can use it and incorporate it into the next set of posts or tweets or updates that go out. So again, the more information we're getting from you or the customer, the better. Now, I'm logged into the HubShout dashboard, but you could very easily train your end client to log in to your private label dashboard, and again, in the exact same spot, they can just click support. It's going to pre-fill in their campaign, their user. They have a social media post issue, and they can type in your upcoming promotion, 20% off on Friday or next Friday for whatever their promotion might be, and hit update, and then that's going to get right into the analyst queue so that they have a support task they know they need to take care of, and they can go take an action on that. So again, we're trying to make this so that it's something that, with social media, especially given the need to get the content very quickly to the person who's executing it, we ideally would like to see everyone using the support task flow so that we can have either your end customer or you very quickly get this information in and get it to our analysts so they can take action on it.
Great. And a question for you, Jed. Would we set up all of our clients' accounts on Facebook and Twitter, or is that part of the package that you're talking about? And if it is, what if they want custom backgrounds and so forth?
Yeah, good question. So I think what we found is that depending on each one is a little different. Twitter, there's some authentication you have to go through, and we found that it's just easier if the end customer or the reseller sitting with the end customer creates the actual account. That way, they have the username and password. They went in and set it all up. Authentication was taken care of. and that account is live. So that's there. Same thing with Facebook. Facebook, we actually typically someone's already created a Facebook page. We have to like that page. We use a freelance email address so that it's not a HubShout.com user, and then you or the customer has to essentially grant administrative access to the freelance email address we use, and then that's how we can get in and start updating the content on the customer's Facebook page. In terms of backgrounds, that's not part of the basic plan, but you can add some graphic design services on top of that, and if you want us to build a background for them, we can certainly do that. Okay, great. Well, this is what I wanted to share with everyone today, and we will please get in touch with the account manager for any questions you have, and we, of course, would like any feedback on things that, anything you've heard today would be great. Just as a quick plug, we've recently launched a forum on the HubShout.com website that has a number of different areas. One of them is system help. We have a reseller sales forum thread or forum category that you can go in and put posts, questions about some of the stuff that was asked today in the call. And then we also just have general internet questions. So if anyone's new to social media or new to one type of service or another that they have questions on, we really would encourage you guys to jump in there. We've all committed to being very quick at getting back to everyone in the forum. So if you have a question, you want to engage with us, we'd love to see you in there. And that's all I have.
Yeah, aren't you going to run a little contest in there soon, Chad? Maybe they can make some money even.
Good, yeah, good question. You will also be hearing from us very shortly on basically a contest we're going to run for the month of April, where we're going to take $10 off everyone's bill if they participate in 10 different threads, and basically we're going to give $250 to the person who puts the most participates in the most threads. So a little incentive to get everyone in there. Obviously, we're putting time in to answer your questions quickly, so we'd love to engage with everyone in the community and see that really take off and be a place for people to be able to interact with not only us but also with each other, because everyone can participate in there. And by the way, you have the ability in your portal when you log in to go into your settings. I'll actually show you this here. I'm logged in now. If you click settings while you're logged into your portal, you have the ability to set your forum nickname and also upload a picture or no picture and hit update, and then you'll be asked to log in. You can just use on the HubShout website over here. So inside the resources section under forums, I'm currently logged in, but if I were not logged in, I would be asked, which I'll just log out really fast. Just log in with my regular username and password that I would use to log into my forum, and I would be logged in and be able to participate. So we look forward to seeing everyone in the forum, and like I said, we've got the whole team actively engaging in the forum, so we'd love to see you in there.
Yeah, and if I could just reiterate the plug a little bit, and I've made this argument. This time we spend together every couple weeks on these webinars over the last year and a half since we've started this series has really been helpful to, both from an educational standpoint for those who participate, but also for us, for the feedback, to make sure that we're driving the services and the software in a direction that serves you. What we do this forum as is a participation that can bridge the time between every 2 weeks that we jump on the phone together for more day-to-day. So we'd really like to see you in there. You can be completely anonymous, and we respect that. We just want to hear your thoughts and your voices and your feedback as we continue to make this platform even stronger for you.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, and as usual, I'll post this webinar tomorrow.
Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.